Now let's pivot over to another piece of news. And Heath, I'll throw this to you first. Want to get your thoughts on this. But Canada had a game against Panama. Well, initially it was supposed to be with Iran. That got canceled because of some history between those two. And just go read up on it. And I understand why they didn't want to play them, and they shouldn't have never scheduled it in the first place. But I really encourage you to go to read up on that. So they booked Panama instead, but now they're fighting. Their union, the players are fighting against the federation to get something similar to what the women and men have done over here with the U.S., which is very inspiring that we are now role models in this space as opposed to fighting each other all the time. Now, but they ended up canceling their game in Vancouver against Panama, didn't even play it to make sure that they're being heard and that this gets adjusted and fixed before this World Cup starts. What are your thoughts on this whole Canadian national team situation?
You know, it's going to get
just overall. You don't have to get
it's going to get lost in translation, right? With the fans who bought tickets and all those types of things, and clearly some real oversight or lack of oversight with the Iran game going into this. But I like the way that things are setting into motion. If you're Canada right now, and I remember when we were in the national team and you got business class flights, we had really good bonuses and things like that. Canada didn't have any of that still, right? Mm-hmm. And Canada, quite frankly, weren't popular in Canada. They weren't getting results. They hadn't qualified for a World Cup, but now they're turning. I'm talking about the men's team. The women's team has been fantastic for a very long time, but the men's team has now rounded a corner, and we're seeing the building blocks of what I think could be a significant footballing sort of national team for the foreseeable future. And I think what the U.S. did on the men's and women's side coming together, and what I think is setting a precedent, is allowing Canada to look at that and say, hey, we deserve more. We want more. We have now elevated this program to a certain level, and now they're asking for a bit more. Now, whether that's grounded in reality or it's just going to the extreme, I don't know, because I haven't really read up on the significance of what they're asking for or what they're not getting that they want. But I do think a lot of this goes back to what the U.S. has done, and it's setting a new standard and an accountability across national teams to build one, a stronger foundation of funds to be able to support your national teams, but two, start to take care of these players in a way that perhaps they weren't before. We've been spoiled for our U.S. national team program on the men's side. I can only speak to that because that's the only one I've been part of for a very long time compared to other countries. But now that Canada are in the World Cup, they should ask for more, whatever that may be, and see.
Well, I got some details for you. So the national team for Canada came out and put out a letter saying federation. I'm going to paraphrase a little bit, and I'll get into the top points. And then Charlie, I want to get your thoughts on this. They said, we have recently learned that in 2018, Canada Soccer signed an agreement with Canadian Soccer Business, another completely different entity. It feels very like Soccer United Marketing and U.S. Soccer, that has completely compromised their ability to leverage the on-field success of our senior national team. To have any chance of creating substantial lasting change for all Canada soccer programs, we need the terms of this agreement to be disclosed and corrected. So they want transparency with this agreement, which hasn't happened yet. They're also asking for a leadership team that can optimize this moment and generate revenue from corporate sponsorship that should be used to drive the game forward at all levels for years to come, grassroots, youth, Paralympic, and senior programs. An equitable structure with our women's national team that shares the same players, same stuff as the men, very similar to what the men and women here with the U.S. did. World Cup compensation that includes 40% of the prize money, and a comprehensive friends and family package for the 2022 World Cup. So I think this is a good time, Charlie, for the Canadian men to dig their heels in, because they already know they're qualifying for 26. They have to maybe get that impact and that change now while the iron's hot with them qualifying. And then they said they added one more former players from the men's and women's and the Paralympic teams integrated into leadership positions within Canada's soccer board and organization. Any thoughts on that, Chuck?
I think it's powerful. I think, it's admirable because you are taking a stand, and people have to do it. And it's all about timing and making sure that the world can hear you, CONCACAF can hear you, and they're doing it. And so, yes, it benefits the U.S. men's, the Canada men's national team in terms of flights and packages and bonuses, but they're making it clear that it's not just about them. It's also about the women's. It's also about the future soccer players and the program. So I'm all about it. I mean, there would be a point where you'd say, just play. Who cares? Just be happy you qualified for the World Cup.
Right.
We're past those times. So well done by the men's team to kind of really put the hammer down.
It sounds a lot like I mean, and it's using the leverage that they have, and I totally respect that and think they should, because you wait for you work your entire career for that moment of leverage. If you're an individual player, to leverage for a new contract and those types of things, it's the right time to do this. But it also sounds like they're demanding just a professionalization of the entire federation, right? Of commercialization and all these things that, again, we have, right? U.S. Soccer has a massive commercial team that they're going to be building heading towards 2026 in-house, and which they previously had with Soccer United Marketing. It sounds like all of that they're saying needs to just step up a higher level, not have it be this mom and pop program, which it was for a very, very long time in terms of the amount of full-time staff they had. Again, the integration of those players, former players, into leadership roles, which is super important. We're seeing that now with U.S. Soccer with Cindy Cohn. And yeah, I have nothing but respect and solidarity with what they're trying to accomplish, and hope that it works out for the better in the long run.
Yeah, it's interesting timing, and they also put out a note, apologizing to all the Canadian fans and to the Panama Federation and players for basically canceling this game and all the preparations that came into it for everybody, both on and off the field. So hopefully this gets resolved in a positive way and everybody comes out with it feeling like it's a win-win situation. But I'm sure in the short term, for the fans that did go to Vancouver to catch the game, they're probably a little bit disappointed, because there's obviously so much hype around the team, and deservedly so, for everything they've accomplished and how good they were in World Cup qualifying in Canada. All right, final thoughts, boys, as we tie up this In Soccer We Trust recap show for the U.S. men's national team versus Uruguay. Any final thoughts? Who wants to be on the hot seat first? Are we looking at Heath?
I'll jump on the hot seat first.
Chuck's mad.
Yeah.
Your seat's already hot the whole time.
Yeah, seat's hot. I'm confident with this group. I think they've taken a step forward, and now it's about getting it in a rhythm with one another. There was always these questions of who's going to play and the tactics. Everything is nailed down. You really just have two question marks, the 9 and the left center back. And then you got to figure out, of these three players, who plays. Aronson, Reyna, Weah. Right. Of those three players, are two of the three playing? Are one of the three playing in terms of the World Cup? Because all three are going to be at great clubs. And if all three are in form, how do you fit those players in the field? Is it, okay, we're going to put Weah as a super sub, and we're going to make Aronson a super sub, because obviously MMA in midfield, that's not going anywhere. Unless there's an injury, that's your midfield three. So then how do you figure out to get those guys minutes? I think Gio Reyna, if he's fit and he's playing, he's got to be on the field. That's first choice 11, no doubt. Right. So then it comes into, what's the 9 look like? If we're still in the same place as we are now, come November, and Weah and Aronson are playing, I think we're going to see a false 9, or Weah is going to play the 9.
But we have to try it? I'm sorry to interrupt your final thought, but we need to try that in one of these games.
Yeah, I agree.
We have to see it. We have to see it. Okay, Heath, final thoughts.
I mean, mine are along the same line as Charlie's. Like, I went from sort of a false sense of confidence coming out of the World Cup qualifying of saying, okay, we made it, now what? To now seeing two different types of opponents, to seeing this team really show not necessarily a confidence to play against these teams, but a true ability to pass, move as a unit, individually. Just the quality of our players I finally seen at an international level after 2 years of this sort of pre-World Cup, go Nations League, and then Gold Cup, and then qualifying, and all these things coming out of the backside. I see a very good group of individuals that can play at the international level, which I was kind of, again, somewhat hopeful of or somewhat confident of, but now I'm convinced, even though they're friendly. So I'm just excited to see, as Charlie said, them needing to come together and figure out how they're going to go and get results without a goal scorer. But I still like where we're at right now.